Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. In this video, we will have our discussion on the weekly transit results starting from the June 6th till June 12th. So now friends, as you know this thing that compared to the monthly predictions, weekly predictions tend to remain more precise because over here we try to follow the movement of moon in the sky. Now as you know that moon, which is a significator of your emotions, your feelings, even all the muhurta and the auspicious timings are calculated from your moon nakshatra, from your moon only. So because of which the way things are gonna influence you this week from the perspective of moon is something which we will try to understand. And definitely friends, before coming to any conclusion, you have to blend whatsoever I'm going to be telling you over here. You have to blend it with the kind of yogas which you have in your chart, the kind of dashas which are currently activated in your life. So friends, I hope your this week is going to be as colorful as my this shirt is. I'm very much sure I'm gonna get many comments on this shirt. What shall I do? I like colors. So yeah friends, talking about the moon first. So moon is going to be making a journey starting from the Leo sign and ending the week on the Scorpio sign. The only red flag during this week is that on June 11th and 10th, it's gonna get conjunct with Ketu in the Libra sign. So that could be a time when your emotions, your feelings could be little bit vulnerable, feeling of detachment, feeling of and thoughts of spirituality might overpower you. And it all depends on the kind of yogas which you have in your chart as well. So that was a basic overview friends. Now we will shift our discussion to all the rising signs. So now friends, starting first with the Aries rising people. So definitely friends, in your case, moon is going to be making its journey starting from your 5th house and ending the week on your 8th house. So to begin with, passion, feeling, emotions are definitely going to be strong, are going to be intense during this week. Second thing is that even from the income perspective or gain perspective, the week seems to be little bit mediocre because you have to understand this thing. Saturn is a very important planet for you guys. And just at the very beginning of this week only, Saturn is going to go into retrograde motion. So in order to gain its momentum back, it might gonna take little bit time. The second thing is that when we talk about from anything to do with buying and selling of property and all of that, for that specific perspective, this week's energy seems to be very promising. Now whether you work as a realtor or you are a first time buyer or you are looking forward to selling your property with a Aries rising person, so the energy of this week seems to be favorable for you. Now friends, when we talk about for the love and romance perspective and specifically the matrimonial marriage perspective, so because friends, your 7th house lord, which is planet Venus, which is in a kind of yoga, being in the influence of Rahu, that for all those people who are eligible bachelors, you are looking forward to a matrimonial alliance and something. So suddenly some proposal could come your way. So remain very much welcoming and open towards that. And as friends, you can really see over here that because moon is going to be making a journey from the houses where it is not gonna get much in the influence of other planets, excluding the Ketu where it's going to get conjunct. Here I'm talking about the conjunction. So the week seems to be lacking that sort of drive or motivation because I've already explained that Saturn will also go into retrograde motion. So because of which the inner drive and motivation is something which you have to come up with. You cannot leave things on destiny or on time or on other people. And from students' perspective as well, the energy of this week seems to be very promising. And even for all those people who are about to appear in any sort of competitive exams, this week's energy seems to be a little bit supporting in that direction as well. Moving ahead friends, now for all the Taurus rising people. So now friends, in your case, moon is going to be making its journey from your 4th house and ending the week in your 7th house. So now friends, for gains or getting success and recognition in your line of work, this week seems to be creating some positive energy. For all those people who have been looking out to move to a new place, change their residence or some sort of travels, that can also get promised during this week. But there is this kind of notion which is getting formed that during travels you have to remain little bit cautious as well, because as you know that Saturn has just gone into retrograde motion. So during the travel there could be some sort of setbacks or last moment that you forgot something or some sort of confusion or delays. So over there you have to remain a little bit cautious. On work front, I have already mentioned this thing. The week's energy seems to be very favorable, very positive. Even from students perspective, this week is creating a positive energy. The only thing is that, friends, just because as you can freely see that till the time like your ascendant lord, which is planet Venus, it is being in the influence of Rahu, that too in your 12th house. So during this time you have to remain a little bit cautious that specifically the people you associate, people you hang out with, people you trust. So you put your faith on the kind of people. So all those things needs to be monitored. But apart from that, friends, like little bit concerns for the health, because moon is going to be getting conjunct with Ketu in your 6th house as well. So over there you have to remain little bit cautious. But apart from that, even from students perspective, the week's energy is favorable, very positive. It's just like that during the travels you have to remain little bit cautious. Moving ahead, friends, now for all the Gemini rising people. So now, friends, in your case, during this week, moon is going to be making its journey starting from your 3rd house and ending the week on your 6th house. So now, friends, when we talk about from the travels perspective, giving time to your hobbies or some sort of short trips and all of that, so the energy of this week seems to be very good for that, like specifically spending time on recreational aspect of the life. Now, friends, when I talk about specifically even regarding the professional front as well, this week's energy is very promising, very supporting for that. Rather, I would also say that for all those people who are looking forward to some sort of matrimonial alliance or something, so even from that regard as well, proposal coming your way, or if things have gone to an advanced stage between two families, talks are going on an advanced level, so things can work out in your favor. The only thing is that, friends, because during this week moon is going to get conjunct with Ketu as well, that too in your 5th house. So for all those people who are into stock market, any sort of speculation, you have to remain a little bit cautious. So now, friends, if I were to summarize, this week's energy is good regarding your professional front. There could be some sort of travels as well. Even for the recreational aspect, giving time to your hobbies and all of that, the week's energy is favorable. It's just like that the matters of the 5th house, like all those like women or ladies who are currently pregnant, they have to give heightened attention to their health, or any dealing in the stock market and speculation needs to be done with proper contemplation and care. Moving ahead, friends, now for all the Cancer rising people. So now, friends, in your case, moon is going to be starting this week from your 2nd house and ending the week in your 5th house. So now, friends, on June 10th and 11th, moon is going to get conjunct with Ketu as well in your 4th house. So those are the 2 days when your emotions, your feelings could make you a little bit anxious, vulnerable. Apart from that, friends, for spending quality time with your family, with your loved ones, the week's energy seems to be very favorable. For all those people who are currently going through their education, like graduation, high school studies and all of that, the week's energy seems to be very favorable for that as well. For all those people who are looking out for matrimonial alliance, the week's energy seems to be like it is coming out a little bit mediocre. You have to push and put your complete efforts in that direction if you are a sincere seeker for a matrimonial alliance. Now, friends, when we talk about from the perspective of your profession, so over here, friends, just because Saturn, which has got the rulership of your 7th house and the 8th house, Saturn has just gone into retrograde motion, and trust me, if you are actually going through any sort of restructuring, re-hierarchy or changes in your professional front, so try to remain patient in the face of any new thing, any new environment which is being offered to you, because the alignment is getting formed in a way that it might make you a little bit anxious, agitated, frustrated in the face of any challenges and all of that. Friends, you have to understand this thing right now in the transit. Your 9th house is in a very dignified state. So trust me, have faith in the higher powers, in the divine powers. Whatsoever is happening, it might have something good in store for you. Moving ahead, friends, now for all the Leo rising people. So now, friends, in your case, moon is going to be making its journey starting from your ascendant and reaching till your 4th house, which can be seen as a very good sign. Specifically friends, as you can fairly see that your ascendant lord is in a very dignified state in your 10th house. So because of which you are actually going through a very auspicious time for the enhancement of your reputation, for professional gains and all of that. The only thing over here is that friends, like if I were to say, because moon is going to get conjunct with Ketu as well in your 3rd house, so within your vicinity, within your friend circle and with your siblings as well, you have to remain little bit cautious that if you are a kind of person who does not have any control in your temper and all of that, so there could be very stark, very fierce argument which might suddenly take place with your people within your environment or within a close friend circle. Now friends, when I talk about anything to do with regarding the pertaining the matters of the like travels, work related travels, if your work and your profession is straight away connected with the matters of the 9th house like publishing or judiciary or travel, import export business, all those people can get benefited. Also friends, just because Saturn has just turned into retrograde motion in your 7th house, so definitely even at work front as well, if you have been chasing some client of yours where your money has got struck, repayment concerns of loan, so things can take a positive leap in all of those directions as well. So overall friends, the week's energy seems to be very much favorable. I would say when we talk about from the matrimonial alliance perspective, over there the energy seems to be little bit mediocre, but for all those people who are student going through their studies and all of that, so time seems to be, and the week's energy seems to be very much favorable for all the Leo rising people. Moving ahead friends, now for all the Virgo rising people. So now friends, as you can see over here that moon will start its journey this week from your 12th house and end the week in your 3rd house. So now friends, when we talk about anything to do regarding the matters of the travels and all of that, because Mercury is in a very dignified state, your ascendant lord in the 9th house, and moon will also make a journey from your 12th house to the 3rd house. So from anything to do with the travels and all of that, the week's energy seems to be very favorable. Like trust me, any important travel pertaining to or connected with your work, if you will undertake during this week, things might turn in your favor. The second thing is that friends, also just because as you can see that your 7th house is in a very dignified state, so even for the matrimonial alliance perspective as well, the energy seems to be very favorable for this week. Like if you are actually a sincere seeker on all the matrimonial platforms and all of that, whether your family is looking for you or you by yourself is looking on different apps and all of that, so you might remain lucky in finding the right suited partner for yourself. Now friends, when we talk about for the students perspective as well, this week's energy seems to be very much favorable. Lastly friends, when I talk about from the expenses perspective, because moon is going to get conjunct with a Ketu in your 2nd house as well, so definitely there is going to be gains, there is going to be good flow of income, but expenses are also going to be equally high as well during this week. And also friends, specifically on June 10th and 11th, any charities, any donations done in the name of the religion and the god and all of that can bring very good karma, can bring very good merit. Moving ahead friends, now for all the Libra rising people. So now friends, in your case, moon will start its journey from your 11th house and will end the week in your 2nd house. So now friends, over here I just want to say one thing, because during the middle of the week on June 10th and 11th, moon is going to get conjunct with Ketu right over there in your 1st house. So because of which mind or emotions could be little bit unstable during this week. So over there you have to remain little bit cautious in that specific front, because not only that, if you will see, even Saturn has just gone into retrograde motion right over there in your 5th house of your mind, of your thought process. So over here regarding the mental emotional strength, you have to remain little bit cautious. Like if you can spare time for meditation, yoga, being close to nature, think about taking all those steps. Second thing is that friends, like when I say regarding your dreams, regarding your goals, you have to remain little bit practical and realistic in that front, because as you can see that moon will start its journey from your 11th house. So if you are a kind of person where you have attached a lot of your expectations on other people, on other people's assurance, other people's word, so my advice to you is that try to remain independent, self-reliant, being very practical, being very grounded, and do not leave things on other people, or do not be completely dependent on other people's aid, help, effort, word or assurance. Third thing is that friends, definitely, because as you can see that your 6th house is in a very dignified state. So for anything to do with the 6th house related matters, if you're going through any litigation, any lawsuit, or you are awaiting to get the loan from the bank or any governing bodies, over there things can work in your favor. But I would say that lending money from the market and investing it somewhere, so the energy of this week does not seem to be very favorable for that. So when I say investments, I mean the stock market and trading and all of that. So over there you have to remain a little bit cautious. Like I would rather also say that for all those people who are married, they have kids and all of that, so there could be matter or concerns or worries on the account of progeny and children as well. So try to balance out everything, give attention to your mental health, your emotional health, and I would say that there could be some sort of travels as well which could also materialize at last hour, which will prove to be very favorable for all the Libra rising people during this week. Moving ahead friends, now for all the Scorpio rising people. So now friends, in your case, as you can fairly see that the overall alignment seems to be very favorable for you during this week, because moon will start its journey from your 10th house and will end the week in your 1st house. And as you can see that Mercury is right now direct in your 7th house, and Saturn has also gone into a retrograde, a strong position in your 4th house. So overall alignment seems to be very much favorable for you. Now whether if you are in a job, so enhancement of your reputation, your bosses are gonna support you in all of your efforts, in all of your endeavors. For all those people who are in business, so chances of running into some lucrative deal, meeting some important prominent people. So whether you are a student, can be for students as well, the time seems to be very much favorable. For all those people who are single, awaiting to get married or awaiting for some good matrimonial alliances and proposals, as you can see that Jupiter is in a very strengthened state right over there in your 5th house. So overall energy seems to be very much favorable. Like even if you are in that state that you want to buy or sell any sort of property, or you want to deal in important real estate related deals, or buying or selling of vehicle and all of that. So overall friends, I'm not seeing you guys vulnerable. Rather I would say that the time is very auspicious. Initiate any of your long awaited projects which are there in your mind but you are not being able to execute them. So this week's energy seems to be very favorable for initiating all of those projects. Moving ahead friends, now for all the Sagittarius rising people. So now friends, in your case, as you can see that the moon will start its journey from your 9th house and will end the week in your 12th house. So now friends, to begin with, when we talk about anything to do with your personal life, family life, social life, even the religious austerity perspective as well, the week's energy seems to be very much favorable. Like you will be able to derive happiness on the account of your social ties. But when we talk about from the material perspective, business or service concerns, over there could be little bit of the setbacks. Things might not take as positive turn as you might have anticipated, because friends, moon is also going to get conjunct with Ketu in your 11th house as well. So that also tells about that gains might not be as good as you might have anticipated. Also friends, the week's energy does not seem to be very favorable for lending your money to someone or initiating some project as well. I would say if you can wait for the next week, like a week following this is going to be very promising or auspicious for initiating something new. And because at the end of the week, moon is going to be there in your 12th house. So over here you have to remain a little bit cautious, you have to remain a little bit careful, that driven by the inner insecurities, you should not act or behave which could offend other people. And also friends, as you can see that, because whatsoever I'm telling over here, because Saturn is also going to get retrograde right over there in your 3rd house. So after this week, Saturn will also be in its complete momentum, in complete force to start manifesting good results. But during this week, I would advise that matters pertaining to new things, initiating new things, try to keep it on a back foot. Moving ahead friends, now for all the Capricorn rising people. So now friends, in your case, moon will start its journey from your 8th house and will end the week in your 11th house. So now friends, if I were to say regarding the matters of your professional life, the week's energy seems to be very favorable. Like not only you will be able to get the support from important people, right set of people will be guiding you, mentoring you, and from the enhancement of reputation perspective, positive growth and development perspective at your work front, the week's energy seems to be very much favorable. Now friends, when we talk about the matters of the family life or the domestic life, over there you might have to face the heat. And also when we talk about from the student's perspective, if you're going through your education, high school studies and all of that, so irrespective of and no matter how much hard work you are putting in, things might take a little bit kind of a setback, or result might not be as good specifically during this week. So keep your morale very high. Like even on the matters of the children or progeny, there could be concerns or worries. Even when we talk about from your health perspective as well, over there as well you have to remain a little bit cautious. And for all those people, because friends, in your case as well, as you can see that in your like 4th house, Rahu is conjunct with Venus over there. So I would say that specifically because Saturn has also turned retrograde just now as well. So matters pertaining to the 4th house, that buying and selling of a property or vehicle during this week. Now friends, over here I'm not talking about that if you are a professional, you do that as a professional realtor. I'm not talking from that perspective. I'm talking from the perspective of being a first time buyer, or when buying a vehicle this week is not as important, is not as much of an emergency. So I would say you can postpone it for the next week. And specifically while driving, you have to remain a little bit cautious and careful during this week. Moving ahead friends, now for all the Aquarius rising people. So now friends, in your case, moon will start its journey from your 7th house and end the week in your 10th house. So now friends, as you know this thing, that this excess of moon can be seen as very good for anything to do with the professional growth, development, running into important people, prominent people, being guided by the right set of advisors and mentors. So from that perspective, this week's energy seems to be very favorable. Now friends, over here, just because your ascendant lord has just turned retrograde right over there in your 1st house, so that also tells about that there could be all those circumstances and scenario where you might take a complete U-turn. So let's say for example, all those thoughts, ideas, projected plans of yours which were ruling your mind, your priorities in the past couple of weeks, they suddenly start looking you bit obsolete, or you might be in this introspection mode that you should not be going in that direction. So a change in your attitude, in your plans can be foreseen during this week, which could be seen as little bit favorable for you. Another thing is that friends, because till the time Rahu is there in your 3rd house, and during this time because it is conjunct with Venus as well, and because Venus is your important Yog Karaka planet, so it is very important for you that while working on new ideas, or specifically not new ideas, people, the living entity connected with the 3rd house. So if you are being introduced or being set up on a date with someone, or working with new people, so over there you have to remain a little bit cautious, little bit careful, because the time is very indicative of that people might try to dupe you, people might try to take advantage of your good nature. So over there you have to remain little bit cautious, little bit careful. But at the end of the day friends, like when we talk about matters pertaining to your professional life, this week's energy seems to be very favorable, and also the mind is going to be a little bit spiritually oriented as well. You will work with a complete discriminatory intelligence, because moon is going to get conjunct with Ketu as well in your 9th house. So that is also this indication that any sort of religious austerity, mantra chanting practice during this time can actually prove to be very fruitful. And also friends, take out time for doing meditation, because I always say this thing, prayers is something when we talk to the God. When we do meditation, we listen to the inner voice or the divine voice. So in whichsoever sphere of life you are currently struck, doing meditation and meditating on your Isht Devta can actually give you right set of guidance. And also some sort of donations specifically on June 10th and 11th in the name of God, or for any sort of like supporting any religious organization and all of that, can also bring some very good karma, very good merit for all the Aquarius rising people. And last friends, for all the Pisces rising people, so now friends, in your case, moon is going to be making its journey starting from your 6th house and ending the week in your 9th house. So now friends, that can be seen as a very good energy, specifically for all those people who are salaried professionals. So for anything to do with doing justice to your job responsibilities, or being considered for a new role, being guided well by your mentors, by your advisors, receiving the blessings and support from your father, even for anything to do with the matters pertaining to the paternal property and all of that, that can also work out in your favor, or some positive development in that direction. Now friends, even from the travel perspective as well, because as you can fairly see that moon is going to be making its journey, reaching till your 9th house, and your 3rd house is in a very dignified state. So even any sort of travels undertaken by you during this week can also prove to be very fruitful. Lastly friends, when we talk about from the saving aspect, the week's energy is not very favorable, because as you can see that Rahu is right now conjunct with Venus, and Rahu Venus influence in the second house just burns a hole in the pocket. So just try to remain a little bit cautious in the matters of your financial spending. For all those people who are single, looking for matrimonial alliance, the week's energy seems to be very favorable. For all those people who are planning a child and something, even the week's energy seems to be very favorable for that. Even from the student's perspective as well, the week seems to be working a lot in your favor. So this is something friends which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs for this week's transit results for all the rising signs. May your week become as colorful, as happy as my shirt is. So for further more updates and notifications on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Dhanyavad.